G'day guys, Solid here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a first impressions review of the Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. So let's get into it. I like doing these walk-arounds of the bikes because it kind of captures my immediate responses to the motorcycle before I get on and ride it. And with this Triumph, what struck me was the build quality, just the way all the parts fitted nicely. Everything looks premium on this motorcycle, so it's a very nice fit and finish. So Triumph have done a really good job of putting this bike together. So that's what struck me first. The other nice things to note are down there you can see the bash plate. The bash plate is now directly mounted to the engine. The old 800 used to be mounted between rubber lugs and the actual engine, so it was quite prone to snapping if you hit large objects like logs, so I'm happy to report that that is now fixed. Let's see how this fancy screen looks, eh? Good morning to you too, Triumph. Well, immediately I can tell you this Triumph sounds way better than the 800 XRT that I rode. I'll do mostly voiceover again because I've got my MX helmet on, so it's going to get windy. I'm on the GT Pro edition, which means cast wheels. It doesn't have the spoke wheels. It's not so tall either, so for short riders this will be the better option. So yeah, I can easily flat foot on this bike. Whoa, yeah, way more punch than the old one. Down low on the RPMs, definitely notice that torque. So I'll say in the voiceovers as well, but the big difference between this and the 800, other than engine size, is that this has a 270-degree crank, so it means a lot more torque off the bottom end. You can really tell. Sounds better as well.
So one of the most important aspects of an adventure bike for me, other than its off-road capability, is how it does out on the open road. As I like to travel long distances, sometimes I can't always do dirt roads, so a lot of it has to be tarmac, and often I've got a pillion with luggage, so I really need to know how these big bikes can do the long haul riding. As many of us, that's the kind of riding we'll be doing. And I'm happy to report that this Triumph will just do it with ease. The suspension is very adjustable. You can adjust on the fly with electronic switches, as I'll show further on. But the wind coverage from the screen is really good. It's also adjustable, which is nice to see. So the buffeting was hitting me at the top of the helmet. It wasn't actually catching the visor on my MX helmet, which is very nice. I'm 180 centimeters tall for you guys out there trying to gauge whether that screen will be enough for you. Now, it also felt very stable, so I would have no problem chucking a pillion on. There's plenty of room on this bike for a passenger and your luggage, so I would have no issues taking this long distances. And as you can see, plenty of power. You don't even have to down gear with this kind of bike. You just twist the throttle and it's immediate response. That's partly to do with Triumph's new engine. Now that it's a 270-degree cross-plane crank, it's much more responsive down low. The old 800, which I have ridden, it just didn't quite have the bottom end that I like out of an adventure bike. So I think Triumph have really fixed one of the main criticisms, and that's the weak low end on the old triple. So this is going to be a very interesting motorcycle, I think, and it's
kind of something I've been waiting for. I haven't really paid attention to Triumph in a long time, just because their updates have kind of been a little bit boring really. They haven't done drastic updates, so I think this is the first decent drastic upgrade since the first 800. So if you're on the fence, should I upgrade or not, this new motor is definitely worth it.
Brakes are good. Yep. Brembos on this bike definitely have plenty of bite. Again, it's not quite going to be like super sport over the handlebars, but it's definitely a lot closer than many middleweight adventure bikes I've ridden. Again, this is another very easy bike to get onto and just ride it. Really quite enjoying the sound of this bike. It's kind of the best of both worlds, you know. You've got that low-end twin sound, and then as you get up the rev range, it turns into a triple. Now I keep using the clutch, but I don't have to, I don't think. Nope. So we got a quick shifter on this bike, which is very nice.
These modern adventure bikes were really spoilt for how good they really are compared to even 10 years ago. They really have made some massive moves and improvements. The brakes on this are fantastic. Now, like I said, they're not quite super sport good. You're not going to fly over the handlebars when you grab a fistful, but they're pretty close. They're pretty damn good. They've got plenty of bite, very progressive. Really would have no problems loaded up with this bike and stopping on a dime. They're really good. The other nice thing, as I mentioned, is that quick shifter. Now you might think, what the hell is that doing on an adventure bike? But it's just fantastic if you're commuting. If stop-start traffic, not having to worry about that clutch is just great. And it's up and down, so you don't need the clutch for shifting down. I will note that it is a little bit lurchy if you're going from second to first down without the clutch, but other than that, very smooth and very enjoyable. So another plus on this bike. The rider triangle on this bike for me was very, very comfortable. It was almost perfect. If I was doing serious off-road, obviously I'd probably go the Rally rather than the GT Pro, but consider this is a road-based adventure bike with its cast wheels. The rider triangle was pretty damn good. Even standing up on this bike was still semi-comfortable. I think I'd put some risers on it if I was going to be standing up often, but as far as just riding around, sitting down, I didn't have any problems at 180 centimeters tall, so I'm average height. Very, very comfortable. The seat height is also really good on this GT Pro model. I could easily flat foot on both sides with this bike, no problems at all. I was also told that this can be lowered, and you can also get a lower seat as well. So those of you that are height challenged, this may be one of the better options for you, as you get quite a low model on this GT Pro. I feel like I say this a bit too much, but it really is testament to how easy these later model adventure bikes really are. And this Triumph is one of those bikes, again, like my experience with the Tenere 700. It's very easy to get used to, acclimate yourself, and just hop on and ride. There really aren't any defining quirks that make this a little harder to ride than a normal bike. So very easy to get used to, very easy to understand, and just hop on and ride. So I do a lot of commuting on my motorcycles. I often like to see how they split. I can report the Triumph is very balanced at slow speeds. The bars aren't too wide that you can't filter through, so it will be a great commuter bike, especially, like I said, with that quick shifter as well and things like cruise control. It's just going to be a very, very easy bike to ride in traffic, and great for those days where you're very tired and just wanting to come home and not use your brain too much to get back safe and sound.
Alright, let's see what this turning circle is. Low speed. Yeah, very easy. Quite a good turning circle actually. Let's have another look at it. Things I didn't point out before. You obviously got the lights on this one because it's the GT Pro. You get the center stand down here, which is nice. Top rack, which is always good to see. Can remove the rubber out of the pegs here if you want to get more adventure-y. Though this being the GT Pro, I'd say this will probably see mostly road from its owners and maybe some dirt roads. The screen's quite good. Let's have a look at what this... You've got your different rider modes here. So you got rider, then rider plus pillion, and rider and luggage, and rider with everything. So this bike basically has electronically adjusted suspension, which is nice. Always good to see on this kind of quality of bike. My old GS had this, and it just really makes it easy riding when you're wanting comfort and you're wanting to adjust on the fly. So you can also sync this up with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay with Bluetooth, make calls. You can have your music playing, your GPS. This even can connect to your GoPro apparently, which is pretty interesting. There you got your music, and then we got RPM. Obviously you can go into it with this home button here, and you press that and you can get far more details. You can change the look of the screen. It's very, very adjustable. You can fine tune the traction control and the suspension. Rider's triangle standing up isn't too bad. I'd probably want the bars a little bit higher if I was going to spend a lot of time standing up. But being as this is the more road biased of the two Tigers, it wouldn't be an immediate modification. Tips in the corners nicely.
So let's get into the bad. Now, the first thing that really annoyed me on this bike, which may have been user error and not necessarily a triumph, but I couldn't get the select button to work for all the electronics on the screen there, no matter what I tried. I asked when I got back and they also couldn't get it to work. Now, I don't know whether it was something I did or it was something that existed previously. It was working before I left the dealership, so I don't know if that was me or the bike, but it didn't work. So that was frustrating. I got stuck in the harshest suspension setting, so that was not really that fun. The other difficult thing with these big adventure bikes is that they often have a lot of buttons, so finding space for those buttons can be difficult on the handlebars. And one of the minor frustrations I had was the select and move through menu button for the screen was right next to the indicator, so I actually found myself hitting the indicator more often than not, which made me look like a bit of a pretzel in the traffic there. The next criticism I have is one I have of many big adventure bikes, and that's the plastic handguards. At this kind of price bracket, I really expect proper handguards that are going to survive more than one drop. It's just kind of frustrating to me that you're spending so much on these middleweight adventure bikes, and yet all they are doing is putting flimsy little plastic guards. I know it seems like a silly quibble, but considering this is probably around a $24,000 motorcycle here in Western Australia, I would expect metal handguards, please Triumph. Now, I debated putting the price of this in the negative column purely because it isn't more expensive than comparable models like the GS. It is a lot of money though. It's $24,150 right away. That's for the GT Pro model I'm on in Western Australia. So prices obviously vary depending on where you live, but that's a lot of money to ask for a bike. Now, I will accept that these middleweights have kind of occupied the space that the big adventure bikes, the 1200s, used to occupy a few years ago. So they're kind of doing the job of those big bikes now. So I will give them that, and the components on it are very quality. You're getting a lot for the money you are paying, but it is still a lot of money to ask. Now, some people, $24,000 isn't going to be a problem, but for me, it would definitely be a barrier. So I'm going to put it in the negative column because it is a lot of money to fork out for a bike. It is a nice bike, but $24,000 nice? I'm not sure. The looks is another one of those things that I debated whether to put it in the negative column. I don't mind the look of this Triumph. It looks quite nice, especially like I said, the fit and finish. The gripe I have with it is it just doesn't stand out. Now I felt like this about the bike when it first came out as the 800. It just kind of looked like a faux GS. They kind of copied that look. Now that's not necessarily a criticism, I get why they did it, especially that early on in the segment, but I really feel like with this Triumph 900 they had a chance to do something different, make it look different. Like the Tenere 700 came out, it looks different to most adventure bikes. So did the Africa Twin when it came out, you know. Triumph, I feel, should have put more effort into making this more distinguished from its competition, I think. So it looks good and it's plenty nice to look at all day long, but it just doesn't stand out like some of the other adventure bikes do. So I'm going to put that as a slight con. Let's see how this speeds up. To summarize, with this bike, everything felt premium. It comes together as a very nice package. Obviously those premium components, they command a premium price, so it is, like I said, an expensive bike, but if you got the money, I would definitely recommend this. Especially these middleweights are a lot cheaper than the big 1200s, and there really isn't much between them anymore. I really feel like the middleweight adventure bikes are where it's at for long distance tourers at the moment. They're the better value for money. So I would also like to thank Triumph Belcata for lending me the bike and allowing me to go and have a ride. And as always guys, I've been Chronicles of Solid. Please comment below if you own one, as I'm sure it will add to the review. It's always great to see owners' experiences with these bikes, so please chuck your comments down below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video guys. Catch you later. There's an interesting combo, Tenere versus Tiger and a WR.